Orlando Nunez. Currently a K9 trainer instructor for a federal agency
Okay.
for San Antonio Airport.
Right.
Responsible for 13 explosive dog teams.
Nice, nice. So, I've known you for a long time, probably since 2005, 2004, 2005. We started working together, so I know a lot of your history, from that time on. But I want to know about what was Orlando doing prior to going to Fort Riley military working dog, being a military working dog at Fort Riley prior to 1994.
So I joined the Army in 1994. Believe it or not, I was a PT stud back then.
Yeah.
And any and in the Army, if you're a PT stud, you can pretty much go to any school. Matter of fact, I went through 3 schools while I was a PFC, and one
Okay.
of them was K9,
Okay.
and that started my K9 career.
So what led you to say I want to be K9? Like we all have a unique story of some point in our life where we were like, all right, I want to be
I
K9.
think it's just the love of animals,
Yeah,
any animal.
yeah,
So when they give you a list of what you can. It's like, oh, I'll take K9.
yeah, yeah,
So that's
yeah. Same here, man.
yeah.
Like same
So it's
kind
just
of
K9.
options.
Yep.
That's cool. So at Fort Riley, that's in Kansas, right?
Fort
Fort
Riley,
Riley,
Kansas.
Kansas. So you were a handler there from '94 to '98, good 4-year stint. Uh, '94 was definitely a different time than what it is right now. Like, what was the makeup of the kennel in 1994? Meaning, like,
What?
today we're very bomb dog heavy across the country. What,
Great.
what did it look like then?
So great question, because then you had all aspects except for the sentry dogs.
Right.
So you had like, this is hypothetical because I can't remember that far back,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like we
sure.
had we had 3 patrol dogs or 4.
uh,
You had your narcotic dogs, and then you had the explosive dogs, and actually at that time frame, you had more drug dogs than explosive dogs
right, right,
versus today.
right.
And you didn't see GSPs or labs. It was all German shepherds and
All
Mals,
pointy ears.
all pointy
So do
ears.
you remember? Let's go back a little bit. Let's go to MWD school. Me, I still remember my instructors to this day. I
Yep.
remember their names. I remember their character. I remember when they chewed my ass. I remember who chewed my ass and what they chewed my ass about. So when you went through MWD school here in San Antonio, Lackland Air Force Base, who would you say was probably one of the most influential instructors that you had during that time?
Instructor
Yeah,
was
we'll go
a
back.
Vietnam dog handler, so and everything was structured for the dog back then. So what I mean is, like, we went to work at 4 in the morning
Right.
because of Texas heat. So we would go to we started canines. We would get on a bus. They bus us over,
Yeah.
and we started canine school at 4 in the morning.
So when you went into military working dog school, and I don't know the time frame because I came a little later after you, but I know at some point everything was patrol dog, and then you came back to Lackland later for
So
detection. Was it
no, it
combined
was it
then?
was combined then. So
Okay.
when '94, it was you start off with Block 1 patrol,
Yeah.
5 weeks, and then boom, you went into Lackland side, Block 2, which is detection. And of course, at that time, the dog's training you.
Right.
That it was that method back
And,
then.
and the way it worked back then is those were schoolhouse dogs, right? They
Exactly.
stayed there.
Yeah.
Wasn't really
It wasn't an age like now. It's like they bring them back to because of age or medical. No,
right.
they were schoolhouse
These were
dogs.
training aid
Yeah.
dogs, right? And yeah, we'll talk some more about that later because those are interesting dogs for sure that learn how to spell. We'll let you know what that means.
Yeah.
But
But
okay,
we
so
started off with ammo cans.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That and I tell people that all the time. Like my first dog was an ammo can with a choke chain wrapped around
Yep.
its neck, and I learned everything I needed to know about handling that dog uh, through those instructors with that ammo can before they even let me touch a live dog.
Yep.
And there's a lot to that that goes the history of it. I mean, the history of it goes way back, way before you and me. So I'm hopeful that they still do that there. I'm not sure, but if they're doing buckets or
I don't think they're
cans,
doing the 50 cows
no
anymore.
50
I think they're doing like the
like 5
small,
gallon buckets.
yeah, 5.56
Yeah,
round.
oh the saw. They're doing the saw
Yeah.
cans.
So,
Small
yeah.
dogs, man.
Yes.
They lost their
They have
way.
adapted to the technology we have now.
Yeah, no doubt. No 7.62 or 50
Yeah.
cal, right? So at Fort Riley, right, as a young K9 handler coming on the scene, like, do you remember your first dog? You remember your dog's name?
I do. Well, I had 2 dogs, but I guess the one to answer the question was Buddy,
Yeah.
because he really opened to my eyes that he was actually the first dog that I truly taught me that we dummy dogs for our own ability, not
Mm-hmm.
because of what the dog can natural instinct.
Right.
So got called out to a fleeing suspect, a DUI. He ran into a structure, I don't remember, but it fled in the woods.
Right.
So young PFC going out there trying to do scouting
Right.
in the woods. It wasn't happening. So
Did you upwind, downwind,
no,
upwind, downwind,
you don't
downwind
do no
flank?
upwind, downwind.
You do all that?
But you definitely like trying to control the dog that's getting wrapped around trees. It
Oh
was
yeah,
just
yeah,
so. I just gave him this. You in the woods, and I cut my dog off leash, and then next thing you know, he's barking.
yeah.
So I was like, wow, that's impressive. Like a task that we've never trained on,
Right.
off leash, and I was afraid because the first thing I thought was that it's just going to maul him, and then
Right.
got some explaining to do,
Right.
right? Because I
Right.
didn't use the force, but it was near impossible trying to hold a 15-footer, and the dog's getting wrapped around the tree. I'm
Sure.
getting right. It's dark.
Sure.
Adrenaline's pumping. So yeah, I just cut him off leash, and next thing you know, he's barking, and that was my first.
Worked out.
Yeah, it worked out great. And then
So what did Buddy teach you, man? Like, but
the true capabilities of canines,
yeah,
how
yeah.
we limit them.
And in the military, we know this in the military is that dog is assigned to that station. And that
Exactly.
dog stays there, and handlers rotate in and out from those dogs. Other federal agencies do it a little bit different. I think they both have pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. Being very young in K9 and going out, getting paired with a new dog, building that rapport, and then actually going out and doing a mission. I couldn't imagine like being a brand new handler, going out and say we have a fleeing suspect, and trying to do what you were taught, but
Exactly.
on a long line, and go,
Exactly.
this is not working.
Mm-hmm.
Let me do something different. So boom. So that's Fort Riley, right? You did the 4 years over there. Um, how many dogs did you work over? Did you stay on the same dog the whole
It
time?
was Cora and Buddy.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Buddy was, as you come in a private, you get stuck. Back then, everything was ranked. So like, if you're a
Right.
new guy, you're gonna get the patrol dog.
Right. 100%.
Exactly, until you get a level 5 and a level 7. So
Right.
that was all in practice back then. And then when I became a level 5, they put me on a drug dog.
Okay.
Core was a drug dog, and then Buddy was a drug dog as well. I
And
didn't do
were they
explosives.
single purpose dogs or were they patrol?
So they did have single purpose. They had 3 patrol dogs that just all they did
All they did
was
was patrol.
patrol. I didn't have. But it's interesting because you end up pulling, like we had a dog named Robbie, and he was just crazy.
Right.
And so back then everything was open post.
Right.
So there was a lot of things that happened on
Right.
military bases. So
Right.
you put your dog up and pull Robbie because it's all psychological
Right.
deterrent.
Right.
And because he would smash his head against the windshield. He
Right.
just looked crazy.
You get a call at the NCO
Exactly.
club. There's a brawl
and you
because
just show up with
military and
Robbie,
civilians
and
are
they just
fighting.
hear the dog
Yeah.
barking, the vehicle shaking, and
That's it.
everything.
Right?
That's
Deterrence done.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
awesome, man.
yeah.
So from 1998, you went over to 341st Training Squadron. So that's Lackland Air Force Base. All Department of Defense dogs are trained at the 341st Training Squadron. And one of your initial steps for that is always the dog training squadron first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so tell me a little bit about DTS. Like, what is, for people that don't know, what is DTS? What is the dog training
Dog
squadron?
Training Center is basically the assembly line for working dog program. Just like a Ford produces dogs, we just produce dogs.
Right.
Whether it's in all aspects, you did patrol, you did in detection, narcotics and explosives, and just to back up, it was Sergeant Jernigan's the one that got me to DTS.
Okay, I remember
Yeah,
Sergeant
Sergeant Jernigan. Yeah,
Yep.
she was my program manager. So you can't certify your dog. Your kennel master didn't in the Army. The program force or program director did.
Right.
And she goes, and she watched me work the dog. She goes, "You need to go to DTS." I was like, "I didn't even know about DTS."
I don't even know what DTS
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
Like, what
so
is that? Yeah.
she's the one that got me there.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
So
small circle, right?
Yeah, it is a very small circle, and that starts your journey, right? To do that. What I found at DTS was that the knowledge base was unbelievable.
Exactly.
even for me, even the worst trainers were still good trainers in the field, right? If that makes sense, right? Like,
Well, in reality, you learn something from everybody.
right,
Don't do
and
that. I
right,
want to do that.
and I think what a lot of people don't realize is how many dogs actually go through your hands. And
Yeah.
anything with dog training, from my experience, is that repetitions, more dogs, more
Yeah.
problems, more solving.
That's because every dog is a chapter.
Right.
You're not gonna. You're gonna use a lot of different techniques for this dog versus another dog, and so you'll get assigned 3 or 4 dogs. That's always a general number,
Right.
and every single one of them is trained differently
Right.
because dogs are like people. They
Yeah. Everybody's got their
they're
own
different.
personality. They got their own wants and needs.
Exactly.
And 100% right. Every
Yeah,
dog is
and
different.
I think what a lot of people don't realize is that you know, no, I'm not gonna bring it up. You'll probably bring that up later. The level of dog we got back then to the
Oh,
level,
bring it up. Yeah, it's
yeah.
fine.
So
Yeah. The
so interesting. So I actually, because the people that were used to work with at CTC, but I reported to Jacobin
yeah,
and patrol. I
yeah.
spent 8 years in patrol.
With Jacobin the whole time,
No, 4 years with pretty.
but you
It,
learned under him.
yeah, and JJ.
Yeah. Oh,
We're
JJ Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah, JJ Wilson. So
Yeah.
and it's just interesting how everything's evolved. So like we would have, it's just a different culture. I mean, and this is you gotta understand. This was before cell phones.
Right.
I think right now every organization, business is truly affected by the cell phone. So we didn't have cell phones back then,
Right.
and we came to work at 4, and then everybody went to the gym. Everybody brought a meal in. Everybody ate. I mean, it was like a family,
Yeah. A
and I have
brotherhood, sisterhood. Yeah.
exactly so. But yeah, but we used to have 3 pits going. Sometimes the same dog would go to the same decoy because he was more animated. I mean, it was the best times
the,
of my life in
the
there.
pit. So the pit is a very specific place in 341st where probably 90% of the initial bite work happens.
Mhm.
And it is a fun place. It was a very fun place to be because you were just taking hits from dogs all day. You were
All
watching
day,
others take hits. And
blood, sweat, and tears.
you were getting heckled. You were getting in fist
Hmm.
fights. You were getting in wrestling matches. And I'm not even sure if the pit exists anymore. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. But yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, man.
Yeah.
Glad you
So
brought
I
that
mean,
up. But
so
back to your point of a different dog, a different breed, a different time. I agree with you. I felt like we had more driven dogs, right?
yeah.
More dogs that were you had to manipulate the behavior to insert control. It wasn't a lot of building up; it was a lot of calming down. If that does that make sense?
Absolutely. Most
Yeah,
of most of them were already red tags.
right, right. They're
Yeah,
already red tags.
if we
Yeah,
didn't get a red tag, we didn't know what to do.
yeah. And
So I mean,
red tag means they're biter.
yeah,
They have a history of biting either kennel staff or handlers or trainers or instructors or students,
yeah.
either one. So yeah, really, really good.
Because
So
at that time we were really the only ones buying dogs from Europe, so we didn't have the competition. And
right,
then the Cold War started. You had the Iraqi War, and then 9/11 really affected
really
the dog
changed.
program. Everybody wants dogs, so
Well, yeah,
now
yeah, and
bottom of the barrel.
that's a good point too, because I was part of that transition from pre 9/11 to 9/11 to post 9/11, and I watched the K9 program
Hmm.
change significantly. To your point of Fort Riley earlier, you start with you might have 8 dog kennel and 5 or 6 of them were drug dogs,
Yep.
right? And it completely flipped.
Yeah, I remember one time DOD didn't even do drug dogs.
Right,
They just bought them
right.
because everybody wanted explosive dogs.
Right,
So,
100%. So yeah,
yep.
no, you're right. And for those of you who don't know, the majority of dogs that are utilizing DoD and federal service, uh, most of them are bought overseas, and it's not because we don't want to buy dogs stateside. We
Hmm.
tried that.
We
We'll
have.
talk about Pet the Patriot later,
Yep. That was a bad time.
where we tested a couple hundred dogs and only one made it.
Well,
But
it's
it's
also Buy America. Remember
right. It
the
was a
federal
buy America. Yeah,
agencies, we could no longer buy 511 because it
right,
wasn't made in USA.
right.
So,
Right. And that's what we ended up with. So that's why we purchase a lot of dogs from Europe, because one, it's proven, the bloodline is really good. They're in early training and the development of their life from the time they're a puppy to the time they're ready to be sold to whatever vendor that wants them. They're in a training mode and they've been tested. So, um, but not to get off subject. So DTS, right? Really, really interesting place. Um, Again, I think once you spend a couple of years there, like you've got it. You figured out maybe a handful of methods to get a dog to do whatever you want, whether it's in detection or patrol or both. Uh, but then the typical process for the 341st is if you're a really good trainer, and they want you to move on to be an instructor,
Instructor.
right? So in 2001, you started instructing. Tell us a little bit about that and what you,
Just to
you
pick,
you've been an instructor since then in some form or fashion. So what
yeah.
about instructing like just kept you in it?
I think the part that's instructing is that by then, because I get asked that question like, how many years did it take you to for you to say that I can train dogs? Because I have a new handler. He just asked me that. I said, honestly, you never stop learning.
Right, that's right.
But I think I felt comfortable after 3 years of being in patrol with any situation.
Yeah,
But keep that in mind. I'll also open enough where that I'll never stop learning.
right,
So as an instructor, and you got to keep remember too, is we train green dogs with green students.
right,
So we had a green handler and a green dog, and then we just trained. We used our skills and articulated to go through them. That's the joy that I like. Not only are you training a dog, but you're training the handler and learning how to articulate to make him effective. Not you.
right.
You've already proven
So you're
yourself.
training the handler to actually train their own dog, right?
Exactly.
Which is 100 folds over better for that handler because they're problem solving in an
Exactly.
early stage.
Well, I think everybody needs to get bit once.
Oh, at least once.
So
At
and
least
how?
once.
So I mean, that's
At
part of the
least,
process.
yeah.
So
Sean Alexander, thank you for my first bite. Just by the way, old,
he's
old
the
spaghetti
hey,
arms.
he's the one that got two dogs on him.
Yeah, old spaghetti arms.
One,
Thank you.
one on the arm, and he didn't have no.
Yeah,
One on the leg, but there was no
yeah.
just scratch
But
pants.
even so, like Sean was probably a lower level trainer, but Sean could rotate it back to the field and been a great trainer in the field, right? And that's what that brotherhood, that
Hmm.
mentality, that competition of 341st was
Hmm.
who's the best, right? So I know you enjoyed it. I know I really enjoyed it. But on to instructing and students, right? So that was the time 01 to 05, right? 9/11 happened. So the mindset changed, right? The
Yeah.
mindset changed significantly, and I think the class size started increasing.
Yeah. So it's interesting because it's always 12,
Mm,
and it doesn't matter what other a lot. If it's proven to work, why change it?
right,
So it's always been 12.
right,
After 9/11, we had 22.
yeah,
So it was like it was interesting because we had to give the same tests but divide it up.
right.
So like they
Part
would
A,
take
part B,
A, they
yeah,
would take B. So if
right.
they failed, they could take the B. Vice.
If
So
they
I
fail,
mean,
they
it
take the
had
A.
its challenges, but
Yeah,
it's like anything else in the military, adapt and overcome.
yep.
So I mean, we made it happen, but it was definitely challenging.
And I think during that time frame, and I know you've instructed a lot of students through the handler course, the MWD handler course. 4 years is a long time. If you're working block one or block two, how was it then? Were you
It, it,
block one
it,
and
it,
block
it,
two,
it,
or
it,
just block one?
it's like anything else.
Yeah,
It changes.
it changed throughout the
Yeah.
process.
So
All right,
originally it was block one, and then we finished block one, and then they wanted us to, just much like CTC is now.
right.
We
Cradle to
took this.
grave.
We,
Yeah,
we took the teams to block two, the same students and the same dogs.
right. And for you guys, block one is the patrol portion of MWD school, and then block two is the detection portion. So they split it uh, predominantly for block one, you're mainly at Medina Air Base,
Hmm.
which they have all the areas there, and then block two, you usually transition over to Lackland Air Force Base. But yeah, 100%. Like that number jumps, right? It doubles because now we're producing. And I think towards the end of your instructor career with MWD school, I think that's when I first ran into you because I came down in 2003 is when I came down. I think I ran into you about 2004. You're getting ready to ETS. It was
Hmm.
done. You had a couple of dogs we were training over in what were those buildings called next to the 341st? The buildings that were just like the building we worked out of, but then there were two more, the asbestos field buildings, right?
Yeah, yeah. Always right. We get the
Yeah,
best of everything. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
those. So I met you there, and probably 4 to 6 months later is when the specialized search dog started. So with that, you came back as a civilian. Right? I remember that.
Yeah, because I exited out of the military.
Yeah. Now, was that like that quick? You went from
Yes.
out of the military right back in as
Yeah,
a DOD employee.
Mr. Ori, which
Oh yeah,
Mr. Ori is for people that know, is up at their chain of command.
yeah,
He did start with K9.
yeah, yeah. Robert Ory,
Yeah,
who's literally the civilian version of the K9 commander for
pretty much.
341st for a long
Yeah.
time.
So he specifically hired from it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there were there were three civilians that originally got hired. It was yourself, Robert Norman, and Rudy Leha. That was
Correct.
the only civilians, right?
Correct.
And then myself, Chris Willingham, and Mark Malecki originally was
Oh no,
hired, and
no. I
then
think it was Fontaine.
Fontaine came and replaced him.
Okay.
You remember that?
Well, I don't remember much about my lucky.
Yeah, he wasn't there very long.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Nick Fontaine, who's gonna be on this program eventually, I spoke with him last week. Is a legend within himself. Um, but yeah, so I remember that, and I remember starting that program, and something that never leaves my mind is how the initial dogs we got, right? The initial dogs we got to go off leash, and they're like, Orlando, Joe, you guys,
What a
train these
battle.
dogs off leash.
Yeah.
What?
What a battle.
How do we do that? Well, figure it out, right?
Yep.
And we did. We did some wild stuff. We put dogs on zip lines. We ran dogs down the road. We figured it out. But one thing to keep in mind, like when we go and look at the dog's initial buy paperwork, the 375, or the initial assessment of that dog overseas, it would say hard full mouth bite, and then that would be erased. So now you have a
Yeah.
single purpose dog.
You have to realize, the size of DOD.
Yeah.
So if the dog didn't make one program, it goes back in the pool.
Right.
Well, we got the pool dogs.
Right.
Yeah, we never got a green dog. There was a
Right.
reason we just got the pool dogs, and you just made it happen. But I'll be honest, I will never. I was blessed
Yeah.
because I'll never that the people that started that program,
Mm-hmm.
man.
Yeah.
Because there's
all legends, man. All legends.
even if the door was closed, we opened it because there were so many situations. They gave us buildings. We had to clean the building out before we could utilize it. They bought us vans. Well, vans can't pull trailers,
Right.
so we had to road march everywhere, which
Yeah.
actually we still implemented in the course because it kept the dogs
Right.
because the dogs were going to war and it kept
Kept
everybody in shape.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that
but
was a very interesting course, and
yeah,
it was really interesting to be a part of a groundbreaking course for the United States
yeah,
military. The first off leash program detection, really built to counter IED threats, and we were getting a lot of them at that time. We were getting a lot of fatalities across DoD with the IED threats. So that's what we started doing, and I forget how long that course was. I know it was quite long.
93 days,
93 days in San Antonio, and then a few weeks
74 at Lackland,
at
and then the
Lackland,
rest at Yuma Air
at Yuma,
Force.
in Yuma, Arizona.
It's actually Marine Corps base. Yeah.
Yeah, and we put a lot of good military men and women through that course. Some of the guys that Orlando touched back then, they went on to have really great careers in either the Marine Corps, Army, and then on to other federal services running programs. So that dedication to that was pretty amazing, because if you're in the military working dog program, you don't really watch a clock, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You might work 14, 15 hours that day to get the mission done. And there was so many times when we would be down working in the area, and we'd open the door at the end of the day to go put the dogs up, and nobody's even around. Like, everybody's gone. Or the guys hauling bombs would be so mad at us because we were always the last ones to put up. But to that program's credit, a lot of lives were saved, and directly because of you, and the effort that you put in, and the accountability that you held on students and dogs and other instructors. So Orlando didn't tell you, but he was a course chief, which meant he had to deal with all crazy instructors, right? He had to deal with them and their problems and how they instructed, and how the message got through to the students and to the dogs, and how we completed and how we finished. And that's a lot to take on, but Orlando did a
I think
phenomenal
I
job
think when
doing
you none of that means anything when it's about the mission.
it. Yeah,
And I think
100%.
that's where people lose sight of.
And I think that was the buy-in that we took from day
Yeah.
one.
I mean,
Was
but I mean,
we knew where they were going.
exactly, and that's what I'm saying, man. We had a good
Yeah,
group,
a solid crew, man, and
solid
and
crew.
and that crew is out doing big things
Yeah,
still
yeah,
today. So cheers to that,
yeah.
brother. That entire crew is out doing amazing things. So SSD, you spent a lot of time over there, right? 2005, 2011, and then as this other federal agency started growing, so did the demand for dogs and for handlers.
Mhm.
Um, so then you transition over to that portion, and you were there for almost 10 years. Um, and that one is a little different, right? Because you're dealing with a civilian population that may or may not have any experience in K9 or military discipline or anything like that. So, just walk me through that transition, if you will, like from being uh, an SSD civilian, very military-ish, right? It wasn't like you lost your bearing coming from being in the 341st over to being an instructor for SSD. How was that transition to go
You just definitely,
from soldiers to civilians? I guess,
you
yeah,
have to learn. Basically, like anything, the most important part is professionalism,
yeah,
and you have we can't do the things that we did in the military
right,
with civilians. So it's learning and can't say the things you have to. I think a lot what helped me out was search and rescue
yeah.
because you know
Those are
there's
all civilians, yeah.
they're all civilians, but they got the best dog in the world, and it's not,
And I definitely
and
that
it's
is on my list.
and
Definitely,
it's
I want
not.
I
So
want to
you
talk about
learn
that.
real quick how to make that team successful.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just I think that's what taught me a lot about people is search and rescue. But you also through the military you get leadership development and
Right.
everything, so you learn how to communicate, and you're always learning. Like now we have millennials
Right.
that they don't even want to listen to people. They just want to just give them a task and do it. So you
Right.
have to. It's like dog training. You just have to find a way to communicate
Right.
with them.
Right.
So
Right. Different for
it's
every handler. How do
exactly
you get through to this individual
exactly.
handler? Um, for me, the dog training doesn't really change. Right. The dog training piece of it kind of stays the same. I think over the past 30 years, we haven't really, if you look fundamentally, we haven't really had a lot of changes in protocol. We may have changed from a sit, stay, pay to a deferred final response, a focus,
Mhm.
but the fundamentals of training have not changed.
Yeah, it's either punishment or reinforcement.
Right. And when it comes to detection, and I find it funny, man. I did some time out in the civilian world as a contractor, and then came back to federal service. But I find it kind of funny that everyone's selling snake oil, as far as like, with you should do this for detection, or you should do
Oh
this, or
yeah.
this method's the best. And I always think back, and I think back to Paul Bunker, uh, methods that the British have used for 50 years,
Hmm.
what we've used since Vietnam. They haven't really changed that much because they work, right?
Hmm.
It's basic stuff. So when I hear the snake oil of, oh, yeah, put this in this box and that box and delay this, I'll see dogs that don't fundamentally get the picture of what they're actually doing, and I'll see a lot of confusion.
Absolutely, because dog training, you have to prepare your mind.
Mm,
Like the dogs feel your energy,
right,
so you have to even come there with the right energy,
right.
with the right engagement. They feel your passion, because that has a lot to do with it. And you hadn't even started training the dog yet.
Right, 100%. Just the initial contact with that dog,
Exactly.
that initial attitude, that
Yeah.
rapport, like all those things matter, and that's kind of why I wanted to put this channel together, right? Like a lot of people, I mean, everybody loves dogs, right? And everybody likes a trained dog, and But there's so many things that are instrumental in dog training that we do that we don't even think about anymore, right? We've been doing it so long. I can give the correction, the verbal, the body language, the positioning, like that, and not even think about it. And I think that's what kind of the world needs to understand is this is such a unique group. K9 handlers, K9 trainers, they're such a unique group. And we give a lot of love to the dogs, which we should. But I really want to highlight the handlers, the ones that train all these dogs every day. We're all broken. We all got broken backs,
Yeah.
broken shoulders, broken knees. I mean, you're just you got to have
Yeah.
a replacement. And I've probably heard that from you 3 times in my lifetime, right? Same here, but it's just a lot of work, and it's really the only way to describe it is dedication to the mission. What you said
Exactly.
earlier.
That's it.
If you,
Whenever you get tired, the mission's more important.
yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
know about you, but still to this day, when a dog finds something, I still get excited, man. I still get,
And that's how it should be.
yeah, I
And
still
then you
get
should,
excited.
when
Right.
when that happens, you act like a rodeo clown and let
Yes.
that dog know that
Yeah. Let them know, right?
because
So,
it has to be fun.
yeah, 100%. And I
You
think you've always preached that. You've always what I've always admired about you is your work ethic, right? You and I can always agree to disagree, but I would never disrespect your work ethic or what you put into these dogs, to these students, to these law enforcement officers, to anybody that you come in contact with in K9. And that's what the echo is from anybody I talk to you and we talk about Orlando Nunez. They're like, man, that guy is a workhorse. I'm like, yeah, I know. I try to keep up with
it's passion, man. I mean,
yeah.
it's like
So you don't even feel like you have a job,
no,
to be
I
honest,
don't,
right? You're
I
just
don't.
getting paid to
I'm
go.
just blessed.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Sometimes
Yeah.
the dogs are the most exciting part of the team,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and that's why I always tell them, you know, have you heard of Bob Bailey? If
Yeah.
you haven't, you need to Google him because you're acting like him right now. Because our expectation of the animal is way up here,
Right.
and yours is down here.
Right. We forget
So,
we forget that maintenance part of that, right?
um,
You can give a student a great product and they'll carry them for a little while.
yeah,
See it all the time. They'll carry them for about a year and then it'll slowly start to deteriorate. And then you got a dog that's being returned to whatever agency because they're not doing it anymore. And we're so quick to, try to just get them a replacement versus
absolutely fixing the
addressing
problem.
the issue,
Yeah,
right? And that's a hard thing to deal with too, especially when you have so many personalities. But I know you've never shied away from that. I know I've never shied away from that. We call it how we see it. So once that federal service position, I know you were again a trainer, an instructor, an evaluator, evaluating teams on an annual basis. And then that transition went back over to field trainer, right? And now you have direct contact with the same handlers every day in your area.
hmm
And that the broadness of that, right? Like a couple different agencies, couple different programs. Like how's that been? Like how have you
so when I get a dog, it I'm the like let's just talk about how it used to be. Like you get a young military person and he's a level 3,
right,
and it's the trainer's job to get him up to the next step.
right,
Well, that's my job in the federal system now. They come out of a basic handlers course.
right,
Let's just say basic,
right,
and the first thing I do is um, give them a long line. Because you're taught it's a basic handlers course, so you're taught how to do the inverted V, walk backwards, and everything. Well,
right,
I don't want you to do that anymore.
right,
My job is to train you operationally,
right,
and so that transition is interesting. But we've all been there,
right.
so it's almost like you got hazed in the military, so I'm indirectly hazing civilians
Right.
or law enforcement,
Right.
but not trying to.
Right.
It's just trying
It's just
to,
part of it. Yeah.
going from a 6 foot to a 9 foot to a 15.
Right.
I do simple to complex with them,
Right.
and it's interesting, you know, that gap, and then you know teach them how to search entryways and think like a terrorist. You're just throwing a lot at them, but
Just
I do it
that
simple to
real.
complex.
Yeah.
Like start off with open areas so they can learn how to use things that we were taught on the DoD side.
Right.
I have to start over on the civilian side
Right.
because everything's on a 6 foot.
Right.
So we just do, and it's just interesting, and it's you get that joy again because it's like training dogs.
Right.
Because now you're training the team,
Right.
and you see the team grow. So
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah, it makes sense, right? Transitioning teams is not always easy. It doesn't always work out.
And it absolutely, it
Right.
doesn't always work
It
out.
doesn't always work out. And when you're in that training mode and not that operational mode, and there's a big difference between training and operation.
Yeah,
I like what you said, like Lusa, get get out of the dog's way.
exactly.
Right. Let that dog work and you make a determination as a handler what your dog's doing and get that feel for the long line.
Hmm.
Whether it be 9 foot, 15 foot, 30 foot, or 2 30 foots, whatever the case,
Yeah,
you'd be at 60 feet. But yeah, it's and that takes some time, right? And
it
that takes
does.
a lot of time. And I think that's another thing I want to point out is the invested time and energy in every dog team, right? Orlando says it was 12 local dog teams,
13.
13 local dog teams, and they all need, guidance. They all need training. Even the ones that have been doing it 10 years, they still need it. They may get a new dog,
It's
and, and,
in the cycle.
and that's a thing too. You see, they'll get a new dog and then they act
Starts
like
all
they're a
over.
rookie handler again,
Yep.
because they've been working this type of dog for 5 years and now they have this type of dog. So that's very interesting. Um, Lastly, man, I want to talk about SAR dogs. And I'm going to bring up one of your old dogs that I watched transition from anything you put him in, any
Soldier.
soldier,
Yeah.
anything you put him in, he was successful at. And I think that's how you kind of got your start in SAR, right?
Hmm.
So tell me a little bit about SAR, and then I want to ask you about some recent events with SAR. But talk to me about
So,
SAR.
it,
Search and rescue, that's what it
search
stands
and
for,
rescue.
right?
Yeah. So search and rescue is definitely, it's like anything is joy and headaches because, but you truly love working with people that are there for the right reason.
Right,
Like they're not getting paid.
right.
They don't get paid to be out
Right.
there.
They're all volunteers,
They're
every
all,
one of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing you got to appreciate that. So I always respected that. Even with you have the hard job of telling them that they want to serve their community,
Right.
service to others,
Right.
and they have the best dog in the world, and it's not the best dog in the world,
Right.
and so they don't know what they're getting into. So um, that you always hear that. Well, if I would have known that's what the criteria is, I would have got a different dog.
Right.
But every dog's a lesson. That dog we tried everything with this dog to make it successful, but look how many tools that you learned.
Right. What did you
So
learn from all that?
exactly
Right.
from
So
all these errors, so
right.
you're going to be a better handler when you get your next
When you
dog.
get your next dog, you may have
Exactly.
seen this, and that
So
the toolbox is so important, man.
exactly.
It's so important. So SAR it's a lot of
Volunteer time.
yeah, volunteering time. They're volunteering their time. They're volunteering their dog. They're volunteering their money,
Everything.
their effort, their training, and I think it's an
And
underrated
yeah, because
profession, to be honest.
exactly. But we also have the bad people that go out there and you see it on the news that
Yeah.
this dog has the most fines when she put the bones in her sock.
Right.
But
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you're countering that where
Right.
so you have. But I mean, it's just that volunteer. I mean, we're all out there to service something better than us, and
And
that's so beautiful.
I think you hope, right, as a SAR instructor, trainer, handler, you hope you never have to use that dog. But unfortunately, most recently in Texas with the flooding,
Oh yeah.
that didn't. The dogs had to be utilized, and I know
Yeah.
yourself and
and
some
and and
others
the good thing
did a
is that,
lot of work out
we
there.
get called a lot,
Yeah.
and your dog did exactly what it did. We get a lot of suicide calls.
Yeah.
It's sad and depressing, but
Right.
it's closure for the family.
Right. 100%. One
Or
hundred percent.
or we get with the trailing dog, and Jacobin helps me with that. He does really all that. We've had they've successful finding every aspect. So we have live find dogs where you have these
Like a missing person.
missing person,
Yeah.
and it's usually the elderly, and
Yep.
they don't they start dealing with dementia and stuff like that, so they don't have no idea
Right.
that. So we've had to find that way a trailing find.
Right.
So the good part is our dogs are being successful.
Right.
That's what makes the difference.
Yeah, 100%. They're
Yeah,
being utilized,
being
right?
utilized and
And
being
they're being
actually being
successful.
successful.
And I won't ask any details about that flood, but
Yeah.
I'll just thank you. I know you yourself and some others, actually some others that'll be on this channel with me later, did a lot of work out there. Again, volunteering your time, and I appreciate it. And that's all I have for you, man. always a pleasure.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much, and I hope
Don't
you
be a stranger.
continue.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
San Antonio's always K9